Welcome to topic 1 of scripting for security. And this topic is going to be on PowerShell basics. So, first of all, what is PowerShell? So PowerShell is Microsoft's object-oriented programming language, and it's an interactive command line shell. And PowerShell is actually designed to automate tasks and make things on the system a little bit easier. And it can also be used to create tools and things as well. And there's actually some, if you search online, there are people who've created games and things using PowerShell, but that's not typically what it's for. So PowerShell, commands in PowerShell are made up of these small objects called commandlets. Okay, and it's written CMD-lets, but it's pronounced commandlet. Okay, and the commandlets are just small objects. And the commandlet name consists of 2 elements. So it consists of a verb and a noun. Okay, so in this commandlet here, okay, we have the verb get and the noun help. Okay, so get help. Getting being the verb and helping being the noun. And the commandlet always has this minus symbol in the middle here. So firstly, to get started on PowerShell on Windows, what we're going to do is in Windows 10, click on Start and just type PowerShell. Okay, and this will give you a selection of options, but the one that we want is just the basic Windows PowerShell. So I'm going to click on that, and that's going to give me this window. Now yours is going to look slightly different, firstly because you're probably not going to have a very large font. All right, and the reason that I've got a very large font is so it's easier for people to see in the video. All right, now if I right click on the toolbar up here and click on properties, okay, I can go to the font and change the font size and color and layout to suit how I want it to look. Okay, so they don't, we don't have to have, it doesn't have to be in this exact way. So what I've done is I've turned the font up to 36 just so we can see it. Now, there's a little bit of a difference between the PowerShell and the other shell, which is the CMD shell, okay, the command prompt. So open that one up as well, and I've got this in a different color scheme so that you can see the CMD shell running here and the PowerShell running here. Now, I said that we use these things called commandlets in PowerShell. So if I run this first commandlet, get help, okay, and press return, okay, it's going to give me some help menu, some help text here, okay, and that's a fairly basic one, and we can see that we've got some other update help, get process. We've got some other commandlets that we can run as well from here, okay. Now, if we want to clear the screen, okay, we just type clear, and that takes us back up to the top. All right, so that's a basic start with PowerShell. We've got PowerShell open here. So PowerShell can be used for, there's 3 main things that we can create in PowerShell. We can create executables, we can create scripts, and we can create commandlets, those short commands that we just ran there. So PowerShell offers a thing called aliases. Okay, so I'll explain how this works, right? The old CMD shell here, okay, if we were to type the command ls, okay, which is list in Linux, okay, it's going to give us this error. ls is not recognized as an internal or external command, operable program, or batch file. All right, so the ls doesn't work. The command in the old CMD shell for list is dir. Okay, dir gives us a list. And the command to clear the screen, it's not clear. Okay, it's CLS. CLS clears the screen. dir lists the directory. Okay, ls doesn't work. So when we go to PowerShell, okay, you'll notice that ls works, okay, dir works, and actually these are actually an alias to a PowerShell command, and that PowerShell command is get child item. Okay, get child item. Get child item. So get child item is the PowerShell commandlet for list. Okay, get being the verb. Child item is just like if you think of a folder as a parent, then the files inside it being the child items. A kind of strange way of thinking about things. Now, another thing to notice as well is CLS works, but also clear, the command from Linux, works as well. Okay, and the reason for this is that PowerShell has built-in aliases. Okay, so to see the aliases built into PowerShell, okay, we can do get alias. All right, and if we run that, that's going to bring up a huge list of stuff. Okay, now just by chance it's fallen on here. The alias dir for directory is aliased to get child item, the one I just saw you. So if we want to see an alias, okay, we can do get alias, okay, and then put in the command we want to see, so ls, for example, and it's going to tell us that ls, okay, is aliased to get child item. And if we do get alias dir, we'll see that that's also aliased to get child item. Okay, get alias, another Linux command, man, okay, is linked to help. All right, so PowerShell, the reason that PowerShell has this built in is that you should be able to come from Linux, and if you already know commands, you should be able to get started straight away with PowerShell. You don't need to go away and look up what's the Windows command for this. So the problem with this shell is when we try these Linux commands, okay, clear, they don't work. Okay, we need to know the specific commands for this shell. All right, and when we do this in PowerShell, all right, these all just work. The Linux commands work straight off. So that's one of the useful features of PowerShell has over the older CMD shell. So PWD is the same as get location. Okay, dir is the same as get child item, ls, man, they're the same. Okay, and we can look up the aliases using the get alias command. Now, another point to consider as well is that get alias doesn't have to be written as a capital G. Okay, PowerShell is not case sensitive all the time. It's only case sensitive where it's important, like in a password or something. Okay, so here's a command called ps drive. Okay, in ps drive, PowerShell drive will show you the drives on the system. So let's do ps drive. Okay, here we have our C drive. Okay, that's the file system that I'm running on just now, and you can see I've not got very much space left. Actually, I've used almost all the space on it. And we have a D drive, various other things that are running. So that's a useful command to check volumes and capacity on a disk. PS is the same as it is in Linux. Okay, it stands for processes. So PS is actually aliased to the command get process. All right, so we can check what's running on the system just by doing PS. Okay, and that'll show us now. I probably need to go to the top of, yeah, it shows us what things are running on the system. WS is actually Windows language for memory usage. Okay, so I think it's memory frames or page frames or something like that. So we can pipe stuff in. All right. So for example, let's say I wanted to sort this, the output of this PS command. Okay, I could do PS sort by WS. All right, and it's going to sort things by this WS column, this column here, in ascending order. And if I go to the top, it will be the lowest memory there. Starts from 0 and gets higher. So that's just with the pipe symbol and sort. Okay, so we could say sort by this, sort by this, sort by this. All right, and we can build up the commands just like in Linux. So here's an example of a command where we have PS sort object by WS, and then we can say descending or ascending. So some more examples. Here's an example of me doing get process. Okay, so same as PS command, then piping that into where object, okay, and that's the memory, WS, is greater than 1000 meg, 1 gig. And then piping that into stop process. And if you say what if, that means find every process on the computer that's using more than 1 gig of RAM and then stop the process. Okay, so we've got some other examples of piping here. There's a measure object commandlet as well that can allow you to make output from a system a little bit clearer. So variable names. Now, because we've just completed a class with Python, we will be used to the Python way of setting names. Now, one thing you have to be careful of in PowerShell, okay, is that Microsoft, okay, Microsoft with a capital S and Microsoft are all the same, okay, because it doesn't have case sensitivity. All right, so we'll do an example of this. Let's create a variable here. Okay, let me just clear this screen off. So when we go to assign a variable in PowerShell, it's a little bit different from Python. Okay, so in Python, what we would do was we would do like my variable equals 5. Right, so if I run this, it's going to give me some red text. There's going to be an error. Okay, it doesn't like that. Right. So how do we actually assign something? Right, we have to put the dollar before the variable. So dollar my variable equals 5 works to assign a variable. Okay, and then to call the variable back, we can call, okay, if we run it like this, it won't accept it. It thinks we're trying to run a function called my variable, okay? So when we call the variable back, we have to use dollar as well, okay? And there it is returning 5. Now, to check the type of the variable, all right, there's a function for that, okay? And we can do .getType, all right? So if you imagine when we were using Python before, right, to do type, we would just do the type function, and then inside it, we would put my variable, okay? But we can't do that in PowerShell, okay? To do PowerShell, we have to do this, .getType, okay? I think it's getType like that. Maybe it's getType. Let's just see if this works. Yes, it is. I'm right. So it's telling me there that it's an integer. Okay, int32 just means integer. And if you remember, my variable was number 5. So if we were to go back and reassign my variable, okay, and make it the word hello world, okay, And then let's run that to assign it. And then we call back the variable again, tell us what's inside. It says hello world's in there. So now if we do my variable.getType, it should say that it's a character string. Okay, there we go. And we have string as the type there. So we do have dynamic typing. We can change stuff, but just beware that the syntax is just slightly different. We have to use the dollar when we're talking about a variable. Okay, so all variables are considered to be objects in PowerShell. Okay, and here's just some examples of some variables being assigned. Right, operators, these are going to be exactly the same, apart maybe from division, but these are going to be pretty much exactly the same as they are with Python. So we have greater than, equal to, greater than or equal to, less than, add, minus, multiply, divide, and then we have assignment operators, we have plus equals, minus equals, exactly the same as we've done in our Python class. So here's an example of an if statement. We do if, and then we have to open rounded brackets. We have a statement, and then we have the body of the if statement there. And we can have, instead of elif, this time we use else if, okay, and else is exactly the same. Other things to note as well is that we don't have to do colon here, okay. That's probably something worth knowing as well. So there's an example of a for there. Okay, one thing that you might have noticed is that the indentation is not such a big deal. Okay, we don't have to indent these things by 4 spaces like we would on Python, because we have things like this semicolon that tells PowerShell that that's the end of this particular line here. Okay, and we have these rounded braces as well that can separate out blocks of code. Okay, so if we want to create a function, we don't have to use define. We can just write the word function and then the name of the function and put the function in curly brackets. Okay, so quick example of a function. Okay, we do function, if we can spell it right, and then my function. Okay, and then we open. Now, if I open this rounded bracket and press return, okay, it's going to give me these 2 little greater than signs here. And what that means is it's still accepting input for this line. Okay, so we do write post. Okay, and let's just check the syntax. Hello from the function. Okay, and then to get out of the function, we want to do close curly brackets. Let's run this. Okay, so that is saved as a function now. So now I think if I call my function, there we go. Hello from the function. It's replied. Okay, so syntax a little bit different to what we've done in the past. Now, that's all fine if we're just writing one command at a time. Okay, but let's say we want to write a bigger script that has more lines in it or stuff like that. PowerShell has a built-in IDE, okay, a development platform, shall we say. It's called ISE, and to get that open, we do this. We go, just type ISE, and it'll open this Windows PowerShell ISE. So this is like an editor with some extra functionality for PowerShell. What this will let us do is this. Now, to get this script pane open, you need to do view and tick. So by default, it'll look like this. You need to do view, show script pane. And then you can write a script here. And if you press play, it will run the script down here in the bottom part. So I'll run this. It's going to give an error because this is just a sentence. But there we go. Look, write a script here. Write a script here. Oh. Seems to like it. It's written. It's funny. I said write a script here, and it's actually written a script here down there. So quite helpful, really, isn't it? Okay, so that's an editor that you should use. If you want to make more than one line of code, then you should use this editor here. So that's just been a brief overview of the Windows PowerShell scripting language, and there's a task on Moodle. All we need to do for this task is run some of these commands, okay? Just to show that we've been into PowerShell and we've used it, okay? Then what we're going to do is we're going to create a function, okay, to get time. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create a guess the number game. Okay, we're going to use that write host command that I just demonstrated, a while loop, and some if statements, some logic. Okay, so that's lab 1. That's task 1 for scripting for security. What you need to do is download this file from Moodle. It's called the ePortfolio template. Okay, now the ePortfolio template, it's a Word document, and you can fill this, you can edit this Word document, right? So I've put an example. If your name was John Portfolio, this is what your ePortfolio would look like. Okay, so let me just open this just now. So John Portfolio has written his first and second name in there and the email address here. Okay, and in this example, there is guidance on how to fill out the ePortfolio document. Okay, how you fill it out. Now, what do you put into the ePortfolio? Okay, it tells you here. So week 1 PowerShell, this week, add the following to the ePortfolio. You want to add a screenshot of the get time function working from step 2.1. So what that means is in the lab, okay, let's just open up the lab, step 2.1, okay, you want to add a screenshot of this time function working when you have that, okay, and then add a screenshot of the guess the number game working from step 3.2. So you want to actually download, okay, I've gone the wrong way. You want to download this template, okay, and edit it and change the name to your name, okay. When you download it, it'll say like first name, last name, ePortfolio.